Welcome to Lady Law Publishing, the host of MikeandJoeConsulting.com. Today, our guest is Samantha Lethbridge from Visions Federal Credit Union in upstate New York, Endwell, New York. Samantha, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm glad to be here.
So today, this is your show. And we know that you have several topics to talk about, but we're going to focus on one today and then
Mhm.
hopefully do second, third, and fourth shows on different topics that you deal with at the Federal Credit Union.
Mhm.
So tell us about yourself. Tell us your department and then tell us about yourself, how you got there and what you're up to.
Yeah, so I am a financial wellness officer here at Visions. So basically, what that means is I go into the communities and I provide financial education. And that can be in many different forms. Just yesterday, I was up in Ithaca at an after school program, and that program was for kindergarten through second graders. And we literally did four corners with the terms earn, save, spend, and share. Of course, before we did the game, we learned about what earning money is and spending money and sharing money. So it can be fun items like that. It can also be very serious items where I teach a seminar about estate planning. Even though I am not a tax consultant, I am not an attorney. A lot of things that people just basics. What's a will? What is probate? Um, Items like that. I go over what those items are, kind of make it seem less scary. So that way, when they do have to move forward with finding an attorney or a tax advisor, they go into it with more knowledge than just totally with nothing, essentially. And then I also do one-on-one financial consulting. So I am a certified financial counselor, meaning that I can do one-on-one sessions with members and non-members, so just anybody in regards to, helping with their budgets, helping with, creative debt management system. Now, again, I am a counselor, meaning that I counsel people. I do not advise people. I never say to people, this is what you need to do with your money. This is where your money should go. What I like to say is I more organize things. I put everything in a nice, clean, crisp fashion. So that way, and then I can basically explain these are different options that you can do. But essentially, it's always up to the person to decide how they want to use their money. What's important to me is not always what's important to other people, and I never try to force that on other people. I always say, I'm like, look, if you enjoy spending $100 at Starbucks, hey, no problem. I will figure out a way to fit this into your budget and stuff.
As long as you make more than 90 a week.
Yeah, basically, it's like, look, if that's important to you, then hey, we'll figure it out.
That's great. That's terrific. And I know that you and I, Samantha, have spoken several times on several topics. And, I have to say I am mightily impressed with how you deliver the message. I mean, to go from second graders
Hmm.
one day to estate planning, which necessarily, not always, but necessarily implies older adults, right?
Hmm.
Sure.
Oh yeah.
Is a real skill. What kind of training do you have or did you have to get to put you in that chair you're in today?
So if we want to go back to my interview, my biggest thing was my enthusiasm. I really, when I went to my interview for this particular position, it's not something where they give you step one, step two, step three. This is a very self-driven role. I have to go out and I have to find what's important, essentially what I believe is important, and then I find partners and organizations that I can essentially help. So you're not going to see me at a country club probably giving, debt management classes. You're probably not going to see me at senior centers giving, discussions on budgeting, considering, people at Centers have probably budgeted since before I was born. So I may go there and talk about identity theft, though. I may go there and talk about estate planning. So when this position opened, they essentially, wanted somebody like, hey, we want to do something in our communities. There is a lack of financial education, and we want we want somebody to go out and deliver it. And I already had all my wheels spinning in my head. I'm like, okay, this organization needs help. This organization needs help. This school needs help, and stuff like that. Tomorrow I'm actually going to be at Ross Corners Christian Academy teaching a class on investments. So yeah, it's kind of like, puts in the little gap between the second graders and the seniors.
So
Mhm,
basically, Visions had a goal,
mhm.
and they handed you the goal and said, fill it. And
Yep.
you have. Okay.
Yes.
That's really really interesting. Of all the topics that you can, well, before I go there, it sounds like you really bring things to people, either second grade people or seniors and everybody in between. It sounds like you bring things to people that they can use.
Yes.
So oftentimes you go to seminars on investing, or you watch things on investing or retirement planning, or budgeting, or I want to buy a home, how do I get there, that kind of stuff. And 75% of what you're told doesn't apply to you, can't use, doesn't make sense. And it sounds like you really, really bring it right to the level of whom you are speaking to. That's
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can go on the internet and get all of this information yourself if you really want to. You don't necessarily need a person, hosting a seminar to do it, but you're absolutely right. I like to do things that are beneficial. I myself was in a really big financial bind when I first got married. My husband, he was in school full time. He's still technically in school full time, getting his PhD. But
wow,
I was,
congratulations.
yeah, I'm just hoping that he finishes soon. But he's basically been in school for as long as we've been together, and we have been together since I was 19 years old. So I'm not gonna tell you how many years we've been married, because then that may have you guys guessing my it's fine. I'm 34. So so we've been together since I was 19 and I am now 34. Yeah. And that whole time he's in school, he's still in school, but now he has a job. He's working at SUNY Binghamton full time. But before that, years ago, when we first got married, I was the only person working. He was in school full time, and we both agreed to that. We both said, Jim, I love you. This is something that you want to do. This is what you're passionate about. I will, support you. I will support the household. So I, worked full time, and basically I was the breadwinner. And I myself needed a lot of help that I didn't necessarily get. But one thing about me is I am resourceful. I know how to figure things out. And that's probably just something that I learned from my parents. Like, okay, I'm in this bind. What are we going to do? So, I had to go out and do things. I had to do side hustles and stuff to make ends meet. And I understand that not everybody is like me. Just because you're in a financial bind, that doesn't necessarily mean you need to be resourceful like me. A lot of people, that comes to, your capability, your mental abilities and stuff. And I know that certain people just don't have that. So that's when I like to come in and be like, hey, you don't have to be like me in order to get out of this bind. We can take it one step at a time. Here's an agency that can help you. Here's something that we can do together. Here's making it make sense and in a digestible format and stuff. And I
I
don't like just giving thoughts and prayers. People can't eat thoughts and prayers. You got to actually get out and do something. So I am very 100% a doer.
I really like that, making it make sense.
Hmm.
And it sounds like you're serving up the knowledge. you're serving up the steps or the path in pieces, because people can't, I don't think people can very easily see going from, a 600 credit score and a part-time minimum wage job to buying a house.
Hmm.
It's like standing at the bottom of Mount Everest and looking at the top. Sounds like you make it, here's the first step, and
Hmm.
here's the next step, and here's the next step. And that's doable. I mean, and it makes it doable for folks. That's terrific. Of all the things that you do and all the
Hmm.
things that you present, what would you like to focus on here today?
Oddly enough, I want to focus on the importance of doing and actually not necessarily talk about money or finances or budgeting or credit. And I want to focus on actually our young people and how we can, as a community, they say it takes a village, but sometimes it seems like this day and age, a lot of people just want to throw up their hands and be like, you know what, that's not my problem. But then at the same time, they're complaining about these young people and these students and all of this stuff. So, in my opinion, a big thing that I would like to discuss is the importance of mentorship to young people and giving them guidance, giving them guidance and opportunities and options and stuff, and not just, yeah, they have access to their phone, but I don't know, they're looking at nonsense like TikTok and stuff. Like, it's they, and believe it or not, young people do like structure. They do like, having easy steps. They do like seeing, oh, what? You mean I can do this? Yes, you can. Here's how. So that's very important these days. And I don't understand why, we've maybe it's just something that we've never had as a community or as, a country. I don't know. But yeah, the idea of mentorship is just so important. And I just don't understand why we don't have more of it. Like, it's so important and so beneficial to young people to have.
So
Have
do
you?
you,
Go
I'm
ahead,
sorry.
Michael.
So what in your programs, do you work with volunteer mentors or mentors that are available to you to introduce to some of the people you're talking to?
Yeah, so luckily we do have we have financial centers in a lot of the high schools in the area. So there's one in Vestal High School and BOCES and Windsor High School. And before, those were just branches. You go in, you see a teller, you get money out, all that fun stuff. Now we've made them financial wellness centers, and we hire interns. So we hire students at that school, and they basically, they learn about all these things. So they do a summer program here at headquarters where they learn about all the different departments. And so they get like a lot of knowledge, a lot of hands-on training, and basically they are an ambassador to their student, their fellow, not colleagues, classmates. And that is something that, unfortunately, I am not in one of those branches. So, but essentially, like there is a me in all of those schools. So we are having like that type of mentorship. I know a lot of the officers have fallen in love with their interns, and a lot of the interns have, learned a lot and, going to bigger, better things. A lot of interns that, where they're just like, college is not a possibility for me, and then they came into the branch and they spoke to, the financial wellness officer at that branch. They convinced them, hey, you should apply for this internship. It's paid, by the way. So they're getting money. And then the students, they leave, they graduate, and, now they're going to college, or now they work at Visions, or now they're at like a study abroad program. So I'm glad that we're doing that. That's something that Visions is currently doing. I would like to do more, and I have inputted a proposal to do more. Unfortunately, it's been declined. So
That sounds like an absolutely terrific program on the part of Visions going out and doing that, especially from the point of view that it sounds like peer-to-peer mentoring.
Hmm.
It's not some 50-year-old telling a 17-year-old, not that there's anything wrong with that, but they connect better. So just from hearing you speak about that program and mentoring in general, I sense, and I'm sure our listeners can hear, your passion for this. Have you had some personal experience with mentoring that kind of catapulted you here or sent you in this direction or planted this drive, this desire, this passion for mentoring?
Absolutely. A little bit about myself. I was in a very bad situation back when I was a teenager. I was 15 years old, very rebellious. I know it's hard to believe, but I was very rebellious. My mother was a single mother, and it was very difficult for her to handle me. I was living in Florida, and she just basically said to me one year, you know what, you're going to go live with your father in New York because I can't handle this. So I went up to my father, and he was remarried. So I had a stepmother, and I also had a step brother and a stepsister, and the five of us lived in our house and stuff in the Bronx. And my parents were basically, they were put, because I was in a very bad, I didn't want to do anything. I just wanted to sit in my bed and listen to depressing music and wear black. And, it was a very dark time for me. But my dad, and especially my stepmother, she was like, no, you're going to do this. And they signed me up for all these programs and stuff. And at first I was very hesitant. I was like, oh, I don't want to do these programs and stuff. But then I went to one and I was like, oh, wow, this is actually really nice. And then I got mentorship from this one program called Christadora. It's a program for New York City children. It's like an urban program where they basically take children that are in, the city, and they go out and they do trips. So through Christadora, I was able to go to Massachusetts. I was able to go to Wyoming. I was able to go to Connecticut in a lot of leadership training programs. And I would be gone for like the whole summer.
Wow.
Yeah. And through those, most of, they were all basically like kind of camping ish. Like you were in the middle of nowhere. There was no cell phones. There was no internet. There was no nothing. When you get there, they took away, my iPod. They took away my CD player. Like it was just me and nature and stuff. But through that, it was great because I had these counselors, and they're dealing with all these teenagers that are from the Bronx and stuff. They're just like, look, we're out in the middle of nowhere. Who are you trying to impress?
Yeah.
And hey, it's about to rain soon and we need 10 materials. You guys need to figure out what materials we need. And we're like, oh my god, like, is this legal?
Wow.
And yeah, and then they put us in the middle of nowhere. One time they drove us out for 4 hours. We only had what was in our backpacks. They were like, okay, every single day somebody's going to be a different leader, and you have to get us basically back to camp base and stuff. And it was, again, I'm 16, 17 years old, maybe at this point, and stuff. And I had to be a lead because you have to encourage the rest of your group,
Sure.
because like it's about to rain, it's getting dark, some of us are, somebody probably sprained their ankle and stuff. And it's, you're the leader of the day. And it's just like, oh my gosh, I got to get these like other people to like follow me, or else like we're not going to be sleeping tonight and stuff, or we're not going to have enough water. We need to get to this water base in order to get fresh water and stuff. So being in those programs and being in those situations and having those counselors and that mentorship and Christadora, like that really showed me like, hey, my life isn't just in the middle of nowhere in Florida. My life isn't just, in this concrete jungle in the Bronx. Like I can, like when somebody told me like, you have great leadership skills, I was like, what? I
Yeah.
do? Like, there's like, you're really good at encouraging other people. I'm like, what? Because people are always like, oh, your gifts. What are your gifts? What's your skill set? I'm like, I don't know. I'm 16 years old. I'm upset. I'm depressed. I just want to listen to My Chemical Romance. Like, just leave me alone and stuff. But then you're in these situations and you have these people that, want you to do these things and, see this thing in you that you don't even see yourself. Because when you're at that young age, you're just like, your emotions are so powerful. And sometimes parents, they just want to be like, oh gosh, you know what? I can't do it. Kind of like my mom. I love my mom to pieces. She's like my best friend right now. So our relationship, for anybody that's wondering, our relationship is wonderful right now. She was actually my maid of honor in my wedding. Um, so, but because like I had, people that actually cared about me and saw like a light inside of this crazy angsty teenager, and you wanted to like shape it, wanted to take time, to help me, you know, that's the reason why I am the person that I am today and why I am here today. And I just want more of that from, our community, more people, more mentors that are, more people that are ready to just like buckle down and like take their time with young people and say, hey, who are you trying to impress?
Well, so,
That sound
go ahead. Go ahead.
that sounds incredible. I mean, that program sounds incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Because you were physically placed in a situation where you didn't have a choice. Like you said, if you didn't go find the drinking water, you weren't going to drink. If you didn't probably construct or find some kind of shelter, you were going to get mighty wet when it
Mm-hmm.
started to rain. So, but how do you how do you you didn't need any convincing that you needed mentoring. You were placed right in a situation where you had your skills came to the fore, and they are. I've spoken to you enough times to know you got mad skills on many levels.
Oh, thank
Um,
you.
well, you do. But if you're in a setting, if you're not in that kind of a setting, in other words,
Mm-hmm.
if you're not in that fantastic program, do you find that you need to convince young people that they need mentoring?
I think it's more just sitting down with them and figure out what are they thinking and stuff. Because I have a sister that is 13 years younger than me, so basically I have put myself as her mentor. I'm just like, okay, that's like my mentee. I am her mentor and stuff. And because there were times where like my mom would call me, she'd be like, Sam, I need you to talk to Jordan. She's just I've had enough. And I'm just like, okay, well, before you ship her up to me like you did with me when I was that age, let me talk to her and stuff. And I'm just like, okay, what are you thinking about, honey? What's going on? What's in your mind? It's like, oh, this, that, and the other thing. It's like, okay, no problem. That is valid. You are allowed to feel that way. That is no one else can tell you to not feel that way. And just letting her know, like, hey, you're okay, you're fine. And once you're able to like break down that wall where, it's just like, hey, you are good the way you are, you're fine and stuff. Because they're always being told, like, you need to do this, you need to do this, you need to be better at this, yada, 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 and stuff. And yes, in a sense, if you want to like go and get a job, you do need a particular qualification or skill set. But in the meantime, it's just like, hey, you're feeling sad. That's fine. That's fine to feel sad. That's fine to feel depressed. And then when you get to that like area of trust, that's when you say, okay, I have seen this growth in I have seen, you have this passion. You have this in you. You have this ability of some kind. How about we hone that and do something with it? How about, we go over here and, utilize that gift that you have? Or how about we go over here and utilize that gift? Or, hey, it seems like you're like, how about we do a creative writing workshop? This is a creative writing workshop that's like in a college in upstate New York. And you can be, and they'll take you for a whole week and stuff. And again, I like to put my money where my mouth is. So yeah, some of these programs do cost money. Christadora costs money, but you know what? Because of, like my parents and because like I was able to qualify for scholarships and stuff. And I basically had, so I would definitely love to fork up money to help a young person develop their skills, in a program of some type and stuff. So not just, sitting there and just being like, oh, okay, well, it's great seeing you. We'll get Starbucks next week. It's like, no, actually saying like, hey, you could really develop these skills. Why don't you go to this, how about we have you go to this program and stuff? Let's find some scholarships for you. So that way you can qualify and go and do this thing. If you can't afford it, it's just like, okay, it's just not something else, you know, like again, thoughts and prayers don't do anything.
You,
No.
you, you find
Ken,
that kids are a little bit more open, accepting mentorship from outsiders than their own parents? Because sometimes, when your mother says, "Oh, you have these mad skills and we love you," sometimes kids are thinking, "Well, you have to say that, you're my mother."
Hmm.
They don't take it as seriously. Do you find that at all, that it's easier as an outsider to get them to open their minds and to accept what they're being told about themselves?
Oh, absolutely. When you're a mentor, you kind of have to be this like celebrity superhero, something that they, look like forward to and stuff. Like it's come to a point where like I go to, when I go to like my second grade, little kids and stuff like that, like I present myself, I dress, fun and colorful, and I give out little like trinkets and stuff. And it's coming to a point where like as soon as the kids see me, they all come up running to me and they all give me hugs. And when we have to walk somewhere, they'll fight to like hold my hand, and I'm like, okay, hold on a second, let me, I will hold your hand to this part now. So, that's just with little kids. But when it comes to young people, you also have to have that sense of just like, hey, not trying to be prideful or because it is a very humbling experience, but they will essentially see you as someone important. They'll be like, oh my gosh, yeah, that's Sam from Visions, and she's done X, Y, and Z, and yada yada yada. So when they see you're not just mom, you're actually somebody that has a career and a job, and you're doing important things and stuff, it's just like, whoa, this person said that I'm a good leader. It's not just my mom saying it. It's like this person has like qualifications, and it's kind of cool and stuff. Like, so yeah, absolutely. Having like that outsider. So that is my long way of agreeing with you.
do you
I'll
do you
take it.
do you find in not the little kids, but in like teens or young
Mhm.
adults, do you find that that they suffer from a lack of self-confidence?
Absolutely. It's so sad. Oh gosh. I I actually have one couple of years ago I volunteered for my husband to have my sister-in-law live with us. And my sister-in-law, she is 17 years younger than my husband. So she was 15 or so. And her parents were moving, and she was in between schools, and it was summertime, it was COVID, it was really bad. So I was like, hey, she's gonna be going to school here in this area. We'll have her move in with us and stuff. So, I was like, okay, we'll do it. So we basically lived, with a 15-year-old for like a good, year or so. And she, I don't know what her deal was. She was just always just had this like, not depressing, just like this. She wouldn't say anything nice about herself. Just always saying like, oh, well, like I'm I'm this, I'm that. It's like I'm not smart. I can't do this, blah blah blah. And it came to a point where it was just a lot. And so I told her, I was like, look, every single time you say something negative about yourself, you're gonna say three things about yourself that you like and stuff. And I would stop her. I would do that at dinner. We were out at Walmart. Like, I don't care. I was just like, no negative talk around me. You don't do that. That's not allowed. Now you have to say three
Wow.
things about yourself. And now I love it because she does that with her friends now. And she'll, I've heard it happen. Like, she was like with her friend. She's 18 now. She's like with her friends and stuff like that, and they're talking. And then one of them was just like, oh yeah, I think I need to lose weight. I'm a little fat. She's like, no negative talk. You need to say three good things about yourself. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. Okay.
That's that's incredible. That's incredible. Do you have you ever found, or if you find a young person who is not interested in mentoring, or how would you bring them around?
For that, I mean, you just have to get down to their level because I understand I'm a high energy person. And a lot of, young people are not very high energy. Or if they are high energy, it's not normally around me. So so I just have to get down there. I'm like, okay, do you want to play a game of Uno? We want to play chess? We can just play chess. I ask them like open-ended questions. What did you do in class today and stuff? What did you learn about in English? What did you learn about in math? What's your most difficult, subject that you're dealing with in science and stuff? No, like yes or no questions and stuff. And then I am essentially trying to get something that I know that they're passionate about. I'll look at their backpack. It's like, okay, what pins do you have on there? Oh, okay, I see you like Sailor Moon. I also like Sailor Moon. Or maybe it's something I don't even know, like Pokemon. It's like, oh, okay, you like Pokemon. Who's your favorite? What Hogwarts house are you in? And stuff. So you just gotta like find you. And I understand it's like you need a lot of patience. You need a lot of patience
Yeah.
for sure, because you're basically like you're hoping that, oh, this person's in a mess. I'm gonna be like, like the Mother Teresa and stuff, and then realize like they don't want to be in this and stuff. They want nothing to do with you. It's just like, you know what? Let's just focus on you being like just a friend, not a mentor, but just a friend. And just showing them like you care, because they honestly think that you're there to like fix them, or you're there because, you're assigned to, or they're just supposed to do it. But if you come in and you show, I honestly care about you and your well-being is important to me and I want to see you succeed. And if they know that and believe it, then that has all the difference.
Certainly.
My problem is sometimes I get a little too attached and stuff because, I care so much.
I can imagine. I can imagine. And I'm sure that you find that when they do start to respond, it's like your little kids want to hold your hand.
Hmm.
The older kids, or the young adults, older teens, young adults, whenever, I'm sure they attach in different ways. They probably don't want to hold your hand, but they probably really want your approval.
Hmm.
And sure. And they attach in very different ways, because now you've become important to them and what you think is important to them. Do you find that to be the case?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, back to like my sister, she is 20 right now. And she told me something that, she did at college and stuff, and she was just like very like upset about it. And, she's like, but I feel like I just want to get this off my chest. But like honestly, and she's crying, she's like, honestly, I'm like scared of, like you're gonna be disappointed in me
Right,
and blah blah
right.
blah blah. And that's my fear. And I'm like, oh my gosh, honey, you can't do anything unless you say that, you're joining like the Nazi party or something like that. Like then we might need to have a discussion and stuff.
Yeah,
But until then, yeah. And when even right now when I teach class at Ross Corners, I told all the kids, I was like, hey, before you go to bed, you need to check your account balance. And before you yeah, you go on for the day. So before you go to bed and then when you wake up, that's when you should open up your phone, check your account balance. And this one kid like told me, he was so excited. He came up to me like the next class. He was like, "Oh, I did that thing, and you were right. Like I found that there was, a different an error was made, and I had like that morning, like I called and blah 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 blah. I was like, oh my gosh, like great, good job. I'm glad you listened. So it's like when they listen and it actually like they see that like I'm not just saying things,
yeah,
like it actually
yeah.
has meaning and is beneficial, and they learn that, like, oh gosh, that's so good.
And it must be really, really exciting to see, because it's been my experience, and I'm sure you just said it, you found it to be the case as well. Success builds on success.
Hmm.
So if you give them a little success, then they're going to build much bigger ones. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, sometimes, when it comes to them going out to the real world and stuff, I also kind of feel like I need to scare them a little. Be like, okay, you're great, you're doing good. Don't do stupid stuff, because if you do stupid stuff, then you can go in jail, and then going to jail will, X, Y, and Z and stuff like that. Or then you'll have to declare bankruptcy at an early age, and you don't want that to happen and stuff. And um, so yeah, well, once we get over, like, hey, they trust you and stuff like that, it's like, oh, okay, good. Now that you understand what's happening here, I also need to tell you about the bad things that are going to happen in life, and this is how you prevent them and stuff. And so yeah, when they do that, it's just
Yeah, I'm sure. That's got to be a great, great feeling for you. You mentioned a couple times um, the need for more mentors.
like,
The need for mentors. If folks are well, the folks that are listening, if I wanted to know, okay, let's say I'd love to be a mentor, but I mean I don't know what that means. I don't know what I
mm-hmm,
have to do. I don't think I
mm-hmm,
have the, I mean I think you probably find as much, resistance, not necessarily resistance, but I think you find as much lack of knowledge on the mentor side as you find on the kids who need the mentors. So
mm-hmm.
I would like to be a mentor, but I have no idea what that means. What would you tell me?
I would say reach out to your local school district and ask to be a part of a mentorship program. A lot of the high schools, at least in the Broome County area, I know that they have mentorship programs and stuff. I know that Binghamton High School has one and stuff. Yeah, a lot of, I think all the high schools have some type of mentorship program. So yeah, just reach out to your school district and say, hey, I wanna, I wanna be a mentor. Like, and most of the time they'll have like a mentorship program that's already like clean cut. So all you need to do is just show up and stuff, and they'll be like, okay, on day one. But again, it's not just, okay, I did step one, uh we're done. It's like, no, you actually have to, why do you want to do this? Are you just looking to do this and put it on your own resume? If that's the case, then get out of here, because you're wasting your
Sure.
time and you're wasting, your mentee's time. I know that there's places like the Boys and Girls Club. Oh my gosh, that program is so great. Like, if I wasn't, out and about doing like all of my things and all my schools and stuff, I would totally be a mentor there. But they need like good mentors. Or I know some networking groups, or some, professional groups, try to utilize mentorship programs as well. Like I said, I've developed my own mentorship program where, I had like steps and stuff, and I'm just trying to find an organization that wants to implement it. But
What do you think is the if you had to pick the single most important skill that a mentor should have? What do you think? What would you say that is?
probably you need to have good emotional intelligence, because if you come face to face with an 18-year-old that is having a rough day and takes care of all their siblings when they get home, and their parents are always working and stuff, so they're basically like in charge of, feeding their siblings and stuff like that, and they just don't see a way out of it and stuff. So, they come in, they're like upset, they have an attitude and stuff like that. And you're just like, well, this person doesn't like me. I guess I need another mentee. It's like, okay, did you even talk to them? Did you even see like why their demeanor is the way that it is and stuff? Like, I know that Binghamton High School has, a lot of violence going on. Like, there was, a couple of kids that come to school with knives and stuff like that. And my first thought isn't, oh man, like, that's, well, I mean, it is unsafe and that's not good. And, they probably will need to be disciplined. But my first thought is like, okay, like, why do they feel the need to bring a knife to school? Because that for me tells me that they don't feel safe, and they are bringing that as a form of protection. That's my first thought. You know,
So,
no.
what I think I'm hearing you say is it's really important to understand where your mentee is coming from.
Correct.
You might not have the same you might not have the same background. I mean, a kid who has a stay-at-home mom and a working dad is going to be very different than a child that you just described, a child that goes home at the end of the day and is responsible for younger siblings because both parents are out working and so on and so forth. So it's important to know where your mentee is coming from.
Mhm.
Wow, that's really well. This has been really, really interesting. Really interesting to me. I mean, I've participated in mentorship programs, and I have been mentor to people at different levels, people in business, young attorneys and whatnot, starting out, things of that nature. And I've learned a lot here today. So I really, really thank you. I just want to make sure, Michael, do you have any other questions at this juncture?
No, it was very informative, and congratulations on what you're doing, and God bless you. And we're going to talk more. This today was about mentoring, but Joe, you mentioned, and you guys were talking earlier. What are some of the other programs that you're involved in that we might talk about in the future?
Mm. Yeah, so I mean, I know on it's the 19th, right? On December 19th, we are actually hosting a seminar here at Vision's headquarters in regards to Domestic Violence Awareness Month. So, just different programs and different things to help people that are in financial binds, what depending on what your situation is and stuff like that. My biggest thing and concern, is helping break that poverty cycle. Trying to help low income families know that there is a way out and there is a way to build wealth and there is a way to live a fulfilling life and not living that paycheck to paycheck, like feeling that dread and stuff.
So
So
can I be so bold here as to say you'll come back and talk with us again about the specific, because I think that'd be very, very interesting to our listeners because everybody's interested in doing better financially. And you're right, there's an enormous gap of knowledge there. I
mhm.
have found that myself. And while there's all kinds of knowledge available, I'll go on the internet and read something and I don't understand it,
Yeah.
you know? No, I need somebody. So may I be so bold as to think you'll come back and see us again?
Absolutely. Yeah, we can put some dates on the calendar.
Super, super.
Oh,
Is there before we leave today, and I just first want to thank you so much for what you do, uh, for what you do, because what you do has the potential and probably has changed lives. That's
Mhm.
huge. That's huge. When you can say that you changed the path of somebody's life as your path was changed with that tremendous program and the support of your dad and stepmom and your mom in making
Mhm.
the decision to send you. That couldn't have been easy for her, right?
It was
Sure.
not. It was
No,
not. She
no,
says it all the time. She's like, if I didn't do that, you would not be where you are right now. I think to
absolutely.
myself, I'm like, oh my gosh, I probably would have been like a teenager and pregnant and stuff. I mean, not no. Sorry, that came out wrong. But I would just be a different person. It would be a different life.
No, not absolutely. That's what I'm saying. I mean, I can, I mean, I've worked with so many people that have made that decision, quite frankly, in my
Mhm.
job. Um, that's not easy. It's not just like, oh God, just get this kid off my hands. No, no, not at
Yeah.
all. It's hard. So, my hat's off to all three of those adults and everybody else that got you into those programs, but you're changing lives, my friend. And that is that's just huge. And is there anything else that you would like to add at this point before we close?
None that I can think of. I feel like there was a bunch of stuff that we were, discussing in the preliminary, and now it's just like, oh gosh, yeah, so much to talk about. But then when you have that open mic, it's just like, no,
Yeah, yeah,
nope,
no,
it's gone.
I hear you. I hear you. No, you did a great job, and we will definitely have you back. And before we close, I just want to say, when we have you back, we would like to have an update on your husband's PhD. Uh,
I'm gonna tell him, be like, Jim, I have a whole like listener group out there
that's
that
right.
is waiting
That's
to know
right.
how your PhD is.
That's right. Everybody, we all want to know how the PhD is going. Tell him he's got hundreds of cheerleaders now.
All right, cool. Yeah. All these listeners, man. As soon as I get that date when he's walking, you guys are all formally invited to, watch him walk.
That's fantastic. Congratulations to both of you on that. That's a tough road, but a worthwhile road. Thank you so much, Samantha. I look forward to the next time we can talk again. Michael?
Okay.
Yeah. So Samantha, before I close out, is there any public contact information that you want to give out? How do the people listening reach you?
Sure. So easiest way right now, because I am constantly in and out of the office, so I would love to give my direct line, but honestly, I just don't know when I would be available to answer it. So easiest way is my email, which is S as in Samantha and my last name Lethbridge, Leth Bridge, like London Bridge, at visionsfcu.org.
And I'll put that in the description before we put the YouTube up, and a little bio about you, and we'll put some information in there. And the email will be the foremost contact.
Perfect.
Okay, well, thank you again so much. And I hope you and Joe have fun on the 19th, because you're speaking, Joe, right? A couple times at that event?
At the gracious invitation of Miss Samantha, I am going to be participating in that event. Yes. And
Great.
that's
Oh,
on
yeah.
October the 19th. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll probably crash it. I'll be in the back of the room listening.
You're more than welcome to come.
I'll be her Uber that day. I'll drive her.
He kind of follows me around.
Yeah.
That's nice. A little chauffeur. Everybody needs one.
Oh yeah. Oh
I
yeah.
follow her, but she goes wherever I drive her.
Thank you again, dear. Thank
Yeah.
you so much.
Thank you so much. And for the listeners, thank you for listening to Lady Law Publishing, the host of Mike and Joe Consulting Podcast. And Samantha, it's been a pleasure, and we'll see you again on other topics. So everybody have a great day. Get out there and search for information that'll make you better in the future, whether you like it or not. All right.